What is up, Sweetwater family? Frank Zummo here from Sum 41 with my tech, Father John Myers.
Hey everybody.
We are here in Detroit on our US tour of our final world tour, and we're gonna give you guys an in-depth look into both drum rigs that I've got on tour right now, and just get into it, so let's go.
To start off with this kit, we have the absolute highlight right up front, the gigantic kick drums. We've got 22x16s. These are maple wood shells made by SJC with the amazing paint job that Frank will talk more about in a moment. We have the custom Sum 41 logo heads on them. We are using P4 clears for both batter and resonant heads, and SJC and Remo have done their job making a great mock-up for the heaven and hell theme that this drum kit represents. As you can see, hell's gonna be on this side with the red drum kit. We've got the blue kick drum here for the heaven side, and over here right at the beautiful SJC badge is where the red and blue meet. And of course you can't have an Sum 41 kit without the Zummo brand on everything, so that's what we've got up front here. Always amazed at what SJC can make for us. It is just an absolute pleasure to be able to tech and work on these every day for Frank.
I've never done really specific album art in this band, and I really wanted to, just because of the double album and everything that's going on with that, and I just love the artwork. So it's been really cool to, do something, and then to have a kit hand airbrushed, which is the first time this has ever been done by a local artist in Massachusetts. Did this for SJC, came in clutch pretty much last minute, and did all this, which is beautiful. And even the Gong UFO tom has got all the airbrushing on it. We just got, which we can get to in a second, our snares recently that go with both rigs. So it's absolutely beautiful. I mean, they painted the inside of the shells black, which I've never had. Again, these are the M5 maple shells, and it's just the same size I've always been using on everything. And we've done even black hardware on the whole kit, flat black rims. It's a beautiful kit to just look at and play, and it sounds incredible. We've got it so dialed right now, and it's just very special, emotional in every way, just because this is our final run here.
Absolutely. So why don't we go ahead and take you around back and see what else is up here.
We also, for the first time, added lighting inside the kick drums, which I've never done that before, hence why we did clear heads with the album art on it, same themed with the red and blue, which is super cool. They installed jacks on the side to plug, the lighting in directly, which is really cool. And it just, in between songs and the blackout, it's just like this cool glow on stage, which is just something I haven't done. And that was like, I'd brought up the idea to SJC, and they just did it, and they showed up this way, and we were just blown away with how they did it. We used the Remo muffling inside the kick drums, and then in the middle of the kick drums, we're using the pillows.
Yes, the Remo.
The sandbag pillows.
Yes.
So it's kind of just very, it's still very live, but it still has that nice attack. And we're using the shoe system for dual kick drum mics inside. We just switched to SE mics. We can go over all the SE stuff in a second, but we're using the shoe system, which we got from Sweetwater, inside the kick drums. And these kicks are just cannons. I mean, they sound so good, especially with this mic configuration. With just switching to SE, it's been a game changer, like sonically in the ears, in the house. And then moving along, rack tom is a 13. I've always used a 13, just one rack tom in between my two kicks, and then a 16 and an 18 floor tom.
For those curious on the depths, it is a 13x8 on the rack tom.
Yep.
It is a 16x13 on the first floor tom, and an 18x14 on the second floor tom,
Exactly.
with the UFO drum being a 20x4.
Yeah, like it's still got the attack, but they don't ring forever, which is something live that, it didn't really work for this band. I love the short sizes and just how I can get them, to fit in the way I play everything pretty low. And then we've got the shoe system with another
SE V-kick.
V-kick inside this guy. And when you hit this thing, it shakes the room. Like it's insane. It's such a fun thing.
Every time I've worked on one of these drums, the idea has been to make it sound more of like an acoustic 808.
Exactly.
So you just want to hear that thing rumble, and when it's pushing through the subs, it absolutely shakes the room.
Yeah, it's more like I'll use it for like one-shot accents or like parts that I really want to, something to be felt, which is great. And this configuration with the shoe and the V kick has been amazing combination. And then speaking of the toms, we're using the same mics on all three toms.
These are the SE V beats, and we also use the Roland triggers on this kit for 80% of its job is to control the gates that open the microphones so that we eliminate more of the cymbal bleed from around the kit. It allows us to kind of concentrate the sound that only we want coming from each mic. We, again, when we go through all of our Roland stuff, we will talk more about that later.
Yeah, and snare drum we just got, which is the first, I've been a bell brass guy forever. It's in the studio what we use, it's what we use live, and after really obsessing with what we were wanting sonically, I called SJC and John, our engineer, we all kind of powwowed and we were just like, okay, SJC was like a mahogany snare with maple re-rings and a 6.5 by 14 is gonna get the job done. And we literally just started using this. We've got one for each rig and it's incredible. It's literally like we played Red Rocks the other night and it was like just a shotgun, like going through that venue. It wasn't like a weird going from bell brasses to that. It was very natural. It felt the same characteristics, but it had a little bit more body. So SJC really nailed that with John and our front of house's advice per that. You can check out inside that drum. It's pretty beautiful.
On the inside, not only is it the mahogany as the main shell, we have something called maple re-rings on the top 1.5 inch and the bottom 1.5 inch, and that allows a little more of the crack, more of the pop to kind of come through when you're rim shotting. Doesn't quite take away the low mids that would otherwise be there. We also have the True Tone Super 30 snare wires. Just always been a fan of those. And for drum heads, we use the Ambassador snare side on bottom and the Emperor X coated on the batter side. And of course, as always, the Zummo logo at 6 o'clock.
And rock locks for the win.
Absolutely.
I don't touch my drums. Since rock locks came out, I was actually in the studio recording and our singer Derek had his classic Black Beauty snare, and I'd get to the chorus and everything would detune. We had to redo the takes, and Anthony from Rock Locks hit me up. He's like, I just created something. I'm gonna come by and show you. Saved the day for the session. It held tuning. We've got those on all my drums. I don't take my drum key and tune anything in the show anymore. And these are the new, like, more flexible, rubber-ish kind of plastic. They're incredible. Like, I don't touch my drums anymore, which is so nice because I can actually, like, and the minimal breaks I have some water, towel my face, and not be messing with, because I just hit so hard, the drums would detune a lot. But these drums hold tuning. Rock Locks saved the day with that, so that's a great drummer hack that I highly recommend everybody get on their drums for sure. I've got an SJC Goliath as my secondary snare drum that I've had forever. That's hand painted by street artist Shepard Ferry. This was I've had this drum for a while. Shepard actually hand spray painted this whole snare drum for me. This is their Goliath snare. I just got this refurbished by them. They put all new tension rods and everything. Hardware, just got this all dialed in. This is a great snare drum. This is a 7 by 14 Goliath. Get into the hardware world. Been with DW forever. All 9000 series pedals, hardware, it's the best. It's just indestructible. Just gives me everything that I need. And these racks were custom made by Steven Vega from DW. I wanted it to be very low profile on each side, and then in the middle, connecting the snare to the rack time. So he created these 3, per my heights and everything. I want it to be very low profile. It all locks into cups on this, riser, and nothing's moving. Even for our overheads, this stuff is like rock solid. It's so reliable. And rock solid, everything that they make, it's such great stuff.
I wanted to mention with our DW 9000 kick pedals, we have Lowboy sponsored beaters, and on this kit they are branded for Heaven and Hell. So if you come behind the kit, we'll show a close up on that. There is on the Hell kick drum, there is the red beater with the Hell engraved on it, and on the Heaven kick drum there's a white beater with Heaven engraved on it. Also, just underneath the beater, we use is it DW brand? The beater weights. That's actually my favorite drumming hack that you have. I was not someone who ever used that before. Having that little bit extra, and I'm talking maybe 2 or 3 ounce weight on the front or on the mallet of the kick beater, really, especially for how powerful and how fast you have to play, it really kind of evens out like the weight of the stroke. And it's something that drummers might know better than engineers, but it really makes the effort of doing these hard, heavy, fast kicks a little easier. And it's something that I've discovered only since working for you.
Yeah, we just switched to Lowboy last year. I tried them out at home because I just had seen a lot of friends using them, and I've always used the hard side of the plastic beater. These gave it more attack, which, when we're playing this fast with the metal and the punk, the kick drums really need to stand out. We've got the Danmar stick holders that Ahead Drumsticks custom threw my logo on made. I've got them on either side. These things are great. Instead of having a stick bag up here, it's a fun little accessory. We've got them on the second rig as well. Mm-hmm. These have been forever, for a decade, my signature Ahead model that you can get at Sweetwater that Ahead makes. These are great. I've been using Ahead. It was this first endorsement I got in 1996 when I was just like a cover band drummer. They've believed in me. I've been with them since. Dreamed to create my own stick that we worked hard on just to match with how I play, all that. These sticks save my hands with how hard I hit, how long I've been playing, just like, I love them. So those are great. Cymbal-wise, Zildjian is what I've played since my dad gave me his Zildjians as a kid. I switched pretty much over the last, I'd probably say year or two for live, going fully K, except for Oriental China 18 I've always used. That's been my go-to China. I love it. We're using K suites on the ride, which is a 23, two 19-inch K suite crashes, and then I've got a 20 K cluster here, which is great. Pretty much the same setup I use in the studio. We switched to K15 hats for this cycle, and then I use a Volcano bell.
7-inch Volcano bell over
as
here.
a ride, which is just a fun accent, really cool ride to play on.
Can't believe you forgot the best part of all, the 23-inch Zildjian gong.
So this is a wind gong that I just got for this kit through Sweetwater. I've got my original gong that I've had forever in Europe on the other rig, which was actually sent to the Hard Rock in Vegas on display. They sent it back for this tour. I loved it. I was like, okay, I need a second gong. I hit up Sweetwater. This wind gong is very thin, and it sounds amazing. I love this thing. I even break it sticks over the mallet. I get both out of it. This is the new gong stand that is really heavy duty. It fits right into the grating here. So thanks Sweetwater for providing this for this tour. This is a great cymbal that I use for special moments in the show. We're actually trying to get with our pyro team right now to have this thing on fire. So when I hit this thing, there's some fire. So we're working on that right now with the pyro team, which would be really fun. So we got cymbals, hardware, sticks, trinkets. You want to go over?
So yeah, I guess I'll start talking about some of the Roland stuff. This year we are rocking the brand new SPDSX Pro. Just came out in 2024. It is an upgrade from the SPDSX that came out in the late 90s, if I remember correctly?
Around forever. So, I've used it as long as I've been in this band and other bands.
So we're talking about a piece of gear that hasn't had a decent upgrade in almost 30 years, and this is the first one that's come out since then. To say leaps and bounds is an understatement beyond the SPDSX. So the SPD Pro, the biggest change for us has been the amount of pre-recorded songs, clicks, samples that you can have stored in the setlist function. Before, I believe the setlist function was a 20-song max, and you had to switch to a new setlist, which in the middle of a set, that could be pretty tough to do, especially with you playing as fast as you play, the songs coming as quickly as they can. You don't necessarily have the time to dig into the drum brain, hit the 4 buttons it takes to go through to the next set list. So that has been the biggest change for us. We can now have 20, 30, 40, 50 songs in the set list function, and it's just as easy as hitting next all the way until the end. Through the SPDSX, we have a BT1 trigger bar that he will use for right-hand trigger effects when he's too busy to be playing on the SPDSX. For the most part, though, all of the loops and samples will come out of the green marked pads on the SPDSX Pro, and on the top left, for every single kit, every single song, every sample on this SPDSX Pro, we have a click track running that is unique to the tempo of each song. And again, being able to cycle through the 20 and 30 at a time without having to go deep into menus to manage that has been an absolute game changer. And for even more ease, right here by his foot, next to the hi-hat pedal, we've got a FS5U Boss pedal, and that comes into the back of the Roland SPD Pro, and that is essentially what switches from one kit to the next for him. So we've got a list of 20 or 30 in order, and every time he hits that button with his foot, it engages the next kit for us, so he doesn't necessarily have to use his hands.
We don't use any playback in this band. It's all live. Everything you're hearing is by the 5 of us. However, I run a click just to keep everything super, super tight. All the guys enjoy hearing the click. So I've got a click track for every song. Some songs have multiple tempos, so I'm changing throughout the song. So that's the main source of this. I'm flying it from here. And then when I got in this band, I had said, a lot of these great sounds and loops from the record, little keyboard parts and things, can you give me those samples? I want to play them live. So that's something I added into this band when I joined the band, which has been great just to have certain loops and things from the record. Because me as a fan, such a music fan, when I went to shows and those, big parts of loops and things in songs that I wouldn't hear that the bands played, it was just a personal preference. It would bum me out. So I was like, there's such great programming loops and things, like, give me all that stuff. So I'm firing all that stuff in the show, which is great. So that all comes out of, the pad and this unit, which has been great. We've even got a radial here, hotshot on my mic. I just do background vocals, rapping, screaming here and there. But because John is also our monitor engineer, over there, he's not typically where a tech would be here. If something goes wrong or we need to communicate, I step on this button, it mutes my vocal everywhere else, and it just goes to him so we can talk, which has been such a great way to communicate with my tech when he's over there in monitor world. Even if he was here, it's hard when you're in, it's loud, things are going on to communicate with your tech. So this hotshot has been a game changer for sure.
And not for nothing, there is any number of things that might fall off of this kit at any given time. I pride myself on making sure everything's tight, but percussive maintenance takes its toll. And at any point during the show, I might have to come up here, a snare mic might fall off, a wing nut might, a cymbal might crack. So I'm often up and down multiple times on this kit. But the only way to really know what's wrong is for him to tell me, otherwise I'm just guessing until I actually see it.
Yeah.
So that Talkback system has been very helpful. And yes, those radial hotshots you can get at Sweetwater.
Yep. And even speaking of monitor world, because he's in monitor world, I've got a crown. We used the Porter and Davies, which is under this cover. So I'm using Ultimate Ears for my monitors with Shure wireless belt pack receivers to feel the low end. I'm using the Porter and Davies seat that goes to monitor world to a crown power amp that I got at Sweetwater, which is so lightweight. It's got the onboard screen where you can program what this sub needs to have. So that's been a great game changer, having the crown amp with the seat. It's literally rattles this whole world up here for me and gives me the low end that I need.
And from a technical standpoint, it is essentially a NL4 cable that you would treat as any other mix from Monitor World. We just program the mix to be, shelved, everything but the low end. The only signal getting fed to it is the kick drum microphone. And so it's just that 60 hertz just shaking his seat so that we don't have to place a large subwoofer speaker behind him. This negates that.
Yeah, we're sending the V-kicks to this, and it's massive. Just the way it feels, the way that it sounds. It's so dialed right now. We've really been working hard on this cycle to really dial things in, and it's at such a great place right now where it's so fun and enjoyable to hear everything the way it's going. And as we're on our electronics world, we've also got back here the V-Drum TD50 brain with triggers on my kicks, snare, and my toms. This UFO drum is not triggered. We are mainly using the triggers for my ears with samples. For my ears, I like this blend of triggered sounds and acoustic sounds. But for front of house, he's just using them as gates for the microphone. So we're not using any sampled sounds in the front of house. It's just for my ears, and our singer likes to hear the triggered sounds as well. And we switched to this TD50 over the last, I'd say, year or two, and it's incredible. It's such a great triggering brain, and we keep this back here on the riser.
So we keep it back here on the off chance that I have to come and mess with it mid-show. Doesn't happen all that often, but things do happen. If we're going to get real nerdy with it, the triggers are all coming to this brain. My front of house guy insists that he can hear the latency induced by this drum brain, and since he's not using the trigger samples, he'd prefer to not go through the brain at all. So what we have done is the 1/4 inches out of the triggers actually hit a pair of a set of adapters that go 1/4 inch input to a dual 1/4 inch output and XLR output, so that the 1/4 inch outs hit my drum brain and go through like a normal signal. The XLRs go straight to the patch system and into front of house and bypasses the drum brain altogether. And that way he can use the triggers exclusively as microphone gate controllers, so that we eliminate bleed from the rest of the kit coming through the mics. And then we have direct outputs on the Roland TD50, which I cannot stress enough is a huge deal on a live sound setting, because you're basically getting line level output. You don't have to add a whole bunch of DIs in line. These things can go straight into a microphone splitter and straight into your board. You're good to go. We do use a lot of the album samples from previous albums to supplement for the tones. We're always happy to import those, and again, that's another feature of the TD50, that you can import tones off an SD card or off your computer. We also have things submixed to each direct out, so that every individual trigger is getting its own individual channel, so that individual control for front of house and for myself. It all comes down to those minute little details, those minute things that you yourself can control. Getting the source correct will always help the final product be a better sound.
And while we're in electronic world, we should go now to our second kit. That was something that was a last minute. We were literally in production rehearsals, and we had this idea to have a bit where the whole band is super tight together, like we were in the garage or basement from the early days. And after talking about how are we gonna do this, I was like, the best way to do this and easiest way would be to use the new Roland V-drum kits that look like acoustic drums, but they're electronic. And
So
Sweetwater provided this kit for the tour, which has been so amazing. It's the whole complete kit. Like, this is a kit, everything comes together except for, I think, the pedals, hi-hat stand, and snare stand. But like, even all these stands come with this kit. The cymbals, the brain. We're using this brain. Like, we're using the brain with literally stock samples that are in this brain. And John can give you more of how we're doing things, but this has been great for a nice moment in the show.
So yes, this is the Roland V-drum kit. Again, gotten for us by our friends at Sweetwater last minute. We thank you guys for that. That was an incredible save on your part. So it comes with the electric kick drum that we do have the DW9000 pedals going towards. It also comes with what I believe that's an 8-inch tom, 13-inch floor tom, and a 14-inch V-drum. The Roland V-drum is one of my favorite things I've ever gotten to play on. To be perfectly honest, the stock settings on this thing are pretty freaking great. I haven't had to dive much into it. Again, these are some of the most responsive electronic drums I've ever played. They feel very much like acoustic drums, which I can't say for most other brands. So again, this is just an absolute fun thing to play. I love to tech on it, and even after sound check's over and this thing goes to the back of the room for a little bit, it's quiet. I can go ahead and play on it for a little bit without pissing off the other band sound checking.
Totally.
And also of note, with the TD27 drum brain that comes with this, it's got Bluetooth capabilities. So I like to have my phone playing whatever, Apple Music, Spotify, whatever I feel like listening to, and jamming along right with it. It's absolutely great for practice kits, and as you can tell, we use it here in a live setting every night. It's perfectly acceptable in that application as well.
Sweetwater, thank you guys for hanging out today and just getting into all this gear with us. Thank you guys for the endless support. We appreciate you guys so much. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope to see everybody on the road, and thank you guys so much.